everyone. It's Tuesday, August 14th, 2018, and it's time to go to work on music. It's been an awesome day. I'm in a really good place and excited for a productive session as usual. Sorry about yesterday's video. I just forgot the outro there, but it happens sometimes because I was kind of had a disjointed session in multiple locations. But today's going to be great. Going to hit the online class front, more Armin van Buuren, more hardcore tracking class, just hitting those hard. Then going to get a quick drum practice in, then going to spend about an hour on the Savvy Musician Academy just building up my marketing strategy and my digital presence for the Full Circle re-release. All the listening tests I did yesterday on Full Circle were really, really good. There's a couple small things that I might want to change. I might want to lower the intro volume of a couple songs. The high end on some of the tracks is a little more intense than the other ones, and I'm trying to decide how far I want to go with that. Because overall, I'm just looking for a really smooth record that is very listenable from start to finish, not just like all that high-end excitement the whole time. I want something that's a little more dynamic, a little more natural, so gonna play around with that, possibly do some edits there, possibly just leave it the way it is. I'll do a little more listening, and then gonna cap the session off with a little more work on the new Aeons EP, just because doing only stuff on the marketing and business front and being on the computer all session is just like not the ideal balance for me, I think. So I'm looking forward to diving back into more writing. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let me know if you have any thoughts or questions as we go through the video, and I'll update you at the end with what I accomplished. Here we go.
And here's where you introduce the track to the crowd. They hear a funky bass line. It takes some time for people to get used to the bass line. You don't want to introduce all the elements at once.
You need to start Googling what you think you are and see what kind of stuff is coming up and see, are those bands like me? Do I sound anything like them? If so, you're onto something.
Great day, really good session overall. Just jumped into the online class front, hit the Armin van Buuren masterclass, and he was going through a bunch of his arrangement techniques for dance music. Some of the big takeaways there were just using filters and volume automation again to kind of control the vibe and the energy level of the tune, depending on what section you're in, and whether he anticipates a DJ trying to mix that track into another one, or giving the audience like something to hang on to during a breakdown, like making sure the beat's still audible, that kind of stuff. And then also just talking about a couple different parts that he'll bring in and out. And if you're not really familiar with what the term arranging suggests in pop music, modern music context, it's a lot of what orchestration used to mean in classical music, which is like which parts are coming in at which section, which parts are going out at which section. And it's really like what you do to ornament the basic structure of the song, which is generally constant throughout the tune. But it might be like changing volume levels of things, adding parts, taking parts away, different things like that, where you really build in the engagement factor and kind of take things from just a good story to a really involving experience, if that makes sense. That's how I think about it. From there, I got into the hardcore tracking class, just more about tracking bass. Very similar to the guitar tips that he gave. You know, if there's a certain note that you're trying to hit on a certain fret that's out of tune, sometimes you'll just tune to that exact note, like you keep your finger on the first fret, tune to that, and then just punch in real quick, just to try to keep everything perfectly in tune. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an extreme way of making rock records, like I've been talking about the last couple days, but I find it super fascinating, and it's really cool to know that stuff, and like I may end up experimenting with that in the future, maybe on my next record, just try something different. But yeah, that was great, and then went through and re-listened to the Full Circle stuff on headphones and on monitors and on my mono speaker, and just making sure like all the details are in the right places, because I've been listening on other systems recently, and like certain things will pop out in different contexts or different speaker systems, but I don't know that I can trust those speaker systems necessarily, and I just want to kind of put the music out into the real world. But coming back into the lab today, I think the way things are the best way, and I experimented with taking the volume down in certain sections, playing around with the high end on a couple tracks, and like what's interesting about doing that is there's always something you gain by making a change like that, but there's generally also something that you give up, and it's difficult to get one thing without giving up something else sonically, and that's just the way mixing and mastering goes, which is why it's sort of like an art, you know, and a magic to it, where it's like, well, that version just has the overall aesthetic perfect, even though there's other small little things I would ideally change or move around, but it's all about getting that gestalt, the whole, to really coalesce and deliver the experience, the overall experience. And sometimes that means living with sounds or mix elements that, you know, probably only bother you, you know what I mean? And so much of it is psychological too, which is really interesting. But yeah, I'm really happy that I can finalize those sonically at least, and I'll consider editing the lengths between songs, but there is actually some cool stuff that's left in there, like you can hear like sounds from the studio, like a chair creaking, or me putting the sticks in a bag or something after a drum take, which is kind of fun. I might just leave that stuff in there for kicks. Then I got into the Savvy Musician Academy class and was just doing more on trying to peg down where I am niche-wise and genre-wise, which is always an interesting challenge. I think thinking about Full Circle, this record in particular, I definitely went away from a lot of traditional song structures. I sort of like alluded to traditional song structures quite a bit, but I think in that sense it does really fall into the progressive rock idiom. And what I'm starting to realize as I do more reading online about progressive rock and new progressive rock bands in particular is how much it's sort of like an umbrella term to describe these bands that are doing stuff that's very difficult to categorize. In some bands, I can hear a lot of similarities to what I'm doing, and then other bands I can hear like it's very, very different than what I'm doing. I think progressive metal's a little too heavy for what I'm doing right now, and I think art rock is just like I don't know, I could fit in there potentially, funk rock, same thing, but those are either crowded by a bunch of older bands, and or that doesn't seem like there's much community conversation going around on it, but I can see a lot of searches in Google for new progressive rock bands. And just to be clear, you know, when I'm thinking about music making, I'm really thinking from the artist's point of view. When I'm thinking about the commercial aspects of it, I am thinking as an artist, but I'm more so thinking as a business person, if that makes sense, and I'm doing my best to separate those two worlds and make them harmonize the right way, like not one corrupting the other, but one supporting the other, if that makes sense. And I think like as an artist sometimes it's like, well, don't put me in a genre, you know, it doesn't feel right, which is fair, and like I don't truly sound exactly like any of the other bands, which is a good thing. I sound like me, you know. But at the same time, if I want people to hear my music and I want people to hear it who are probably going to like it, instead of just a bunch of pop music fans listening to it and being like, what the F is this? You know, it makes sense for me to think about, like, where are the people who would be really excited about a record like this? Where are they hanging out online? How can I connect to them? And how can I just show them what I'm doing and say, hey, what do you think about this? You know, do you like this? Does it suck? You know, why not? That kind of stuff. And so that's really what I'm trying to do. So I think about it as just being intelligent about where I expend my energy, and also, like, really trying to deliver something great to the types of people who would really dig that, if that makes sense. So, yeah, anyway, I just spent some time doing some internet searching, some research. I found a good list of new progressive rock bands from last year on the Bandcamp website, and I'm digging that because, you know, I know how Pink Floyd sounds, I know how all these, you know, big progressive rock bands, the traditional thing, but what I'm starting to learn is, like, progressive rock is still alive today, and there's a lot of bands who are pushing the envelope and still using that catch-all term to put themselves in, you know, a set of places on the internet. And it just seems like that's where the biggest fan base is, and possibly where the most receptive fan base is going to be for a record like this, which is really, like, outside the mainstream, and definitely, like, a lot of emphasis on instrumental stuff, and just, you know, longer tunes, you know, different stuff where I took a lot of risks and tried different things, and I just feel like certain types of audiences are going to get really excited about that, like, yeah, don't give me the same bullshit, you know, like, give me something fresh, and other audiences will be like, what the heck is this, just give me something familiar, you know, so trying to tap into those folks who are really receptive, like I said before. So yeah, and I found some bands who are newer on the scene and who are maybe a little more underground, which I just feel like caters to my sound and my aesthetic on this particular record. I feel like the Unlimited record is a little more polished and has more traditional song structures. Still, the songs are really long, so it may end up just being an evolution of progressive rock for me there. But yeah, just trying to be intelligent about building a business around this that's going to support me artistically and not compromise me artistically, if that makes sense. So let me know if you guys have any thoughts on that. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys are out there grinding towards your goals and enjoying the process. That is what I'm out here doing, and I will see you guys tomorrow for more. Can't wait.